Hey, Patriots, we're back. I'm always impressed by people who are willing to stand up for their beliefs, especially in the face of persecution and in the face of those people who, tell them, oh, you're wearing a tinfoil hat, blah, 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 blah. Truth of the matter is that those who are willing to stand up and have the courage of their convictions, those who are willing to stand up in the face of adversity, those are the real heroes. Mark Twain was very accurate when he said in the beginning, being a patriot is difficult because you will be abused and harassed. And in the end, when your friends and your other compatriots join, they will do so because it's easy and it costs them nothing. And that's unfortunately true. Those of you who, and not just because you listen to this show, there's a lot of patriots out there who have never heard of this program, never heard of me, and never will. But I got to tell you, there's a lot of people out there that are fighting for our country and for not the preservation of the system we have, because frankly, it's, what we have now is not worth preserving. Yeah, if this is the way we've got to go moving forward, and this is the status we're going to be in moving forward, I don't want any part of that. The corruption, the betrayal, the lies, the treason, there's no part of that I want. Yes, we do need to move backward. We need to move backward to a point in time where our nation was based on the principles of honesty and integrity and honor. There's not a single politician I could point to today that said, and I could say, that person represents those things in my mind. There's a couple who come close, but there's nobody I can point to. I heard the other day that a Bush Jr. won in Texas. Hey, you got to be kidding me. I mean, when are we going to let the legacy of the family Clinton and the family Bush die away from politics? You got to be kidding me. Those two families have ravaged this nation for generations. You consider any of those people to have honor and integrity? Please. They've been so drunk on power for so long, they don't even know what it's like not to live with it. It's like a heroin addict who says, I've been high for so long, I can't imagine what it's like to live not high. One of the people who blows my doors off on this, and I'll get onto this Obamacare and the uninsured in a minute, is a lady named Phyllis Schlafly. She came out the other day and she said the Republicans would be fools to back any kind of an amnesty program. And I posted the link up on our Facebook page and YouTube page and Patriot FB so that you can find it easily. Here's my point. Thank goodness somebody with the national visibility, because clearly that ain't me. Thank goodness somebody who's got national visibility came out and said what all the rest of us are thinking. The only plausible explanation for what's really going on with this issue of amnesty and the legalization of illegals is that those people who support it on the GOP side have either made some sort of a deal with the devil or they've been compromised because they got a secret they cannot release out of that closet. John Boehner is a guy who comes to mind because he reminds me of that little boy who's sitting there, and we've all seen it, right? You got a little boy, he's 4 years old, and he's standing there, and you're looking down at him, and he's looking up at you, and he's swearing he doesn't have something behind his back. He's got both his hands behind him, and there's cookie crumbs falling on the ground, and he's saying, I don't have any cookies, Mommy. And doggone well he's got cookies. You can see him. And he's got chocolate all around his face, and he says, I don't have any cookies, Mommy. What does John Boehner have in his closet What kind of a deal did they make with him to push this monstrous thing through? There is no other plausible explanation, ladies and gentlemen. He's not doing this for the benefit of the country. Gotta be kidding me. Show me how that benefits the nation. He knows it doesn't. Everybody in Congress knows it doesn't. I mean, it's an insult to our intelligence to try to make us believe that it does. And I'm tired of being treated as if we're all a bunch of nincompoops who aren't capable of wiping our own butts without somebody from Congress stepping in to help us. Tell us what to do and how to do it. You got to be kidding me. Get out of here with that noise. You know, I'm tired of that nanny state mommy thing. You know, I'm a big boy. I don't really need somebody to tell me what to think and how to think and why I should think that way. And I'm tired of being insulted by the likes of Boehner and the likes of Lindsey Graham. You got to be kidding me. That liver-lipped monster. The truth is, Schlafly came out and said what everybody already knows. She just had the courage to say it nationally. Amnesty is a dead end for America, and especially for conservatives. Thank you, Phyllis, for speaking out. In the face of adversity and having the courage of your convictions to stand up and say what everybody else wants to say, just doesn't have the platform for. Congratulations to a woman of honor. And Bronx cheers to all the rest of you who won't. Makes me ill. Got a country that's coming apart at the seams like a cheap Chinese suit in the pouring rain. And they're all standing there telling us, trust me, that suit will stay together as the sleeve falls off. A shame. It's no wonder that we have a country that is rife with corruption. Because all the people at the top are sitting in the nest of corruption. You know, I'm a smoker, right? People tell me all the time, oh, you got to quit smoking. It's not good for your health. I get it. And I had one guy one time, and he was a doctor. And I was talking to him, and he said, you know, you really ought to give up smoking. I said, yeah, I know. And he said, but you know what? I know that other people in your household smoke. And the challenge you have is that you can't quit doing crack when you live in a crack house. And I thought to myself, now there's an analogy that everybody can grasp. I mean, so I'm going to turn that analogy around and throw it back in Congress. Throw it back on the White House. Throw it back into the executive, into every administrative agency that operates without any even veil of lawfulness, to the entire judiciary. How are you going to quit being corrupt when you live in the heart of corruption? When you sit in the nest of corruption with your mouth open, eek, 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 feed me, feed me, feed me. You'll never separate yourself from it. And you're doing a disservice and harm to the rest of us while you enlarge your portion at our expense. If you want to tie God into this like Michelle and Barack Obama do, okay. I'm not saying that if you listen to me, you're doing God's work. I'm going to tell you flat out, if you continue to live like that, and you continue to be a leech and a tick and a parasite on the rest of us for your personal gain, whether that's power, money, sex, fame, fortune, I don't care what it is. God's got a special place waiting for you. You know, there's got to be I don't care if you don't believe in God. If it's karma, there's going to have to be some place where you're going to wake up in the universe and get pimp slapped for being a piece of trash, human trash. for being a liar and a thief, and a profiteer. All right, let's jump on our second topic. So the news is out. Nobody's really signing up for Obamacare. Only 10% of the uninsured who qualify for private plans have actually enrolled. The truth is, we were sold a bill of goods. Anybody who doesn't believe that, and listen, a lot of us didn't buy. You see, that's the problem with the system that we have. I didn't buy. You didn't buy. But we're not given that option. We're forced to buy, even when we disagree with the value of that product. I mean, that's like me saying to you, I know you don't drink, but I'm going to force you to buy a bottle of whiskey. You say, well, why would I want to buy a bottle of whiskey? I don't drink. It doesn't make any difference. You've got to do your part. You're going to buy that whiskey, and you're going to drink it. Well, I don't drink. I don't want to drink it. Doesn't make any difference. Now, buy that whiskey, crack the top, and let me watch you drink it. Now, give me some explanation of how that's fair. Give me some explanation of how that's ethically, morally right. Give me some justification for the existence of that behavior and that level of force applied against Americans from a legal context. You can't, because it does not exist. Coercion is wrong. Period. Lying is a method of coercion, and it's wrong. Period. The unwashed masses, those peons out there who are forced to live with Obamacare while Congress exempts itself, they knew this was a lousy deal. They didn't vote for it. They didn't buy it. Now they're being forced to buy it at the point of a gun. Yesterday, Congress came out and passed a bill that would zero out the penalty associated with failing to sign up for Obamacare, okay? And the White House said, we're going to veto it if it gets through the Senate. And guess what? It passed with a bunch of Democrats. Isn't it funny how suddenly those doggone Democrats, boy, they are just so desperately worried about your welfare when their welfare in November is on the line. They didn't give a rat's rear end for you when they were following the party line, which everyone, including they, knew was not in your best interest. But suddenly, they're going to do the right thing now. So they're stepping up to the plate, and they said, hey, we're going to sign up for this. It passed by 90 votes, which is, significant. And yet, the White House came out and said, if it makes it through the Senate, we're going to veto the bill. So, all right, hang on a minute. Stop right there. What you're telling me is that when the Senate and the House pass a bill, a lawful act that is constitutionally correct, you're going to tell me that the president's going to override that and veto it. But when he wants to act unilaterally and act as a dictatorial fiat outside the boundaries of the Constitution, clearly violating the law, the tone, the tenor, the intent, the foundations, that's acceptable. Ladies and gentlemen, I got a word for that. It starts with a T. I'm going to let you say it yourself. Ready? Here we go. Boom. I didn't hear it. Treason. That's right. Treason. That's not the correct definition of treason. In order to stop. Treason is when you do things that are against the best interest of your own nation. And this is all that. And a bag of chips. When you've got Democrats and Republicans in a bipartisan fashion, every time I say that word, I want to vomit. In a bipartisan fashion, getting together to pass something which makes sense, to make the fine 0 if you violate the individual mandate. And the president says, sorry, but I'm going to veto that. And then goes and does it anyway, but by unilateral decree, as if we're some sort of a banana republic, and we're all running around in loincloths with spitball targets or spitball dart guns. You got to be kidding me. He's not subject to impeachment. He's subject to a trial for treason. This article that I posted up there, it's on the Weekly Standard. The tail end of it has a sentence or paragraph, which is very telling. Here's what it says. I'll read you the previous sentence because it wraps it up. It's given the wide margin by which the legislation passed the House, along with the significant level of support, bipartisan support with which it passed, perhaps the Senate will actually take a vote and pass the bill and give Obama the chance to veto it. That would provide a welcome reminder to the American people of the extent to which Obama's centerpiece legislation relies upon coercion. But it also relies on lawlessness, a fact that is becoming more apparent by the day. Within hours of threatening to veto this legislative change to Obamacare, Obama announced himself that he is again making an executive change to Obamacare. In plain defiance of the legislative text, the rule of law, and the constitutional separation of powers. No wonder left-leaning constitutional scholar Jonathan Turley says that we are, quote, at a constitutional tipping point, end quote, and that Congress must act to stop this president's, quote, dangerous, destabilizing aggregation of power. Boom. When you have a president who operates outside the boundaries of the law, willfully, intentionally, and with malice aforethought, there is no other word that describes that. So you can take umbrage with that word all you want. But that is exactly what it is. This system was never intended to provide insurance for 30 million people. I mean, that the equivalent argument there is so ridiculous that you can't even make it. So let's see. We're going to upset the apple cart of 1/6 of our economy. We're going to strip the insurance from 100 million people so that we can cover 30 million people who ultimately are not going to get covered and or can't afford it. We're going to strip the taxpayers of $1 trillion a year ad infinitum, going on into as far as the eye can see. We're going to strip them of their First, their Fourth, and their Fifth Amendment Bill of Rights. We're going to make them subjected to penalties which are outside the constitutional boundaries of the law. We're going to fine them and penalize them for not participating in commerce. We're going to corrupt the judgeship on the Supreme Court of the United States so that we can cover 30 million people, of which only 3 million are actually covered. Only 10% are signing up for it, folks. 10%. So 10% of 30 million is 3 million. You can do the math yourself. Why the news media can't do the math themselves is beyond my understanding. I mean, I'm assuming that they all went to the same basic arithmetic class I went to. But it's not about truth. It's all about propaganda. It's all about nudge. This is Cass Sunstein's nudge principle in play. What part of America does not see that? What part of you out there in the world don't see the nudge principle being applied to you individually every single day? Federal government has no business being in your business about every aspect of your life, determining down to what light bulb you can put into the wall. The federal government doesn't do that. No, they go down to states and they say, here's the way it works. If you don't apply federal standards to your driver's license test for every kid turning 17 years old, then we're just going to withhold a few $1 billion in road taxes and highway funds. And the states go, oh, we can't do that. Okay, what's the policy that we have to implement? Where do we sign? Well, if you don't do what we tell you to do in schools and you don't implement Common Core, we're going to withhold money. But if you do, we're going to give you this $5 billion. And the states sit there and say, let's see, if we close our eyes and we squeeze them really tight, we won't see the strings associated with this money. Let's just take it and pretend they're not there. We'll explain it later, but right now that money is looking so good. I can't wait to put it in a spoon and heat it up with a little bit of water and draw it up into a needle and shove it into my arm, baby. Straight to my heart. When politicians do that, ladies and gentlemen, there's only one word that describes it. They know there's a string. They even see what's tethered at the other end. And then they turn around to you and they put on those big pie eyes and say, I didn't know. I was thinking of you, and when I was doing this, it was in your best interest. At least I thought it was. They fooled me too. For you women out there, that's like the little boyfriend you had when you were in high school who said, I promise I'll love you forever. But the female vote in this country, boy, they just can't lap up enough of this. Oh, you will? Oh, Barack, you're so wonderful. I'm just so impressed. It feels so good to be loved. What did you want me to do again? Oh, sign up my children. Yes, I will. I'll willingly give you all of their private personal information, and I will make sure that they are a part of the system for you, because I know that when I'm helping you, I'm doing God's work. Ladies and gentlemen, if you build your life on lies, if you build your world on lies, when they become exposed, you have nowhere to turn. There is no solace. And you can only blame yourself for your greed, or your greed to feel accepted, or your greed to feel participatory. That, ladies and gentlemen, is the truth. This was never intended to do anything for America. It was intended to do things to America. The goal wasn't to save 30 million people. The goal was to enslave 285 million others. And everything else you hear is propaganda. You're listening to America's Voice now. We're going to take a break. When we return, we're going to talk about this staffer who stole secret documents from the CIA. And now the CIA has the nerve to be outraged about it. And they're defying every rule of law. Well, that's not surprising, because when the dogs of war band together, we lose.